Hey everyone, welcome back. So over the past, this summer, we've had a lot of sort of big budget movies, big sort of superhero movies. You know, we've had the Ghostbusters, we've had Captain America: Civil War, stuff like that, and I haven't really seen many of the smaller films this year. I think the smallest film we've probably talked about as a group is The Neon Demon. And I managed to get. I heard this film got a limited release in the US, and I saw the trailer and I thought it looked like a decent movie, and I really did want to see it. I managed to catch a screening before I went to work of Hell or High Water, and I really, really, really loved this movie. What's different about it is that it's a very simplistic plot. We haven't had a lot of that this year, and I don't mind a simplistic film. Obviously, I want something original, I want something different in my films, and this has that. We've seen it before, you know. The plot of the film is these two brothers, played by Chris Pine and Ben Foster. They're very close, and they rob banks, and police detective sort of sheriff, that's it, a police sheriff in this small town is investigating their case, these banks that have been robbed. And that's basically all you get in this film. There are some other things that I can talk about that would delve into spoiler territory, but overall it's a very simple film with a very simple plot. What makes this film so special, in my opinion, is, what for one, all three main performances are absolutely like brilliant. You've got Jeff Bridges, Chris Pine, Ben Foster, as I mentioned those two before, and they all just give such good performances. If none of them get nominated at Oscar season, then there's something wrong with the Oscars community, because all three of them deserve the nomination. But if I had to choose one of them, in my opinion, I would pick Chris Pine. I mean, I've read reviews, watched reviews where people have highly praised Jeff Bridges for his performance, and whilst he gave a really, really good performance in this film, I have to give it to Chris Pine. I mean, we've seen him in big films such as the Star Trek trilogy, and he does hold up his own. I like those movies, and I really like Chris Pine in those movies. With this one, he doesn't have to rely on the big star power that he has. It's a very secluded, simple film, and he just gives a performance that you can tell is from the heart. He doesn't, have to rely on the fact that he is very, very well known in the film community. He just gives the best he can, and he does so well with it. Exactly the same with Ben Foster. Bit of a smaller name than Chris Pine. Again, he does amazingly. I can't remember exactly who plays Jeff Bridges' partner in the film either. Again, he gave a good performance, and Jeff Bridges was actually surprisingly a very funny character in the film. Some of the lines that he has are genuinely the best in the film. I think he gave off the best sort of one-liners, as you would say. But if Chris Pine gets nominated for an Oscar for this film, I totally can see why. And I think the film as a whole should actually be, nominated, because it's such a film that we haven't really been able to experience this year. And I know a lot of films come out around sort of the later part of the year that will be, high Oscar contenders. And this one came out a bit early to be part of the big Oscar season buzz, but I think it will get picked up. I've seen two films in the same week, the other of which was Kubo and the Two Strings, which a review will be coming for. And both films are just such, simplistic, less common films that people will go and see. But they just happen to be two of my favourite films of the entire year. And when I make a top 10 list of my favourite films of the year, I have no doubts that those two films will make it, because I can't see two films, or in this case, I'll talk about Kubo another time, but in this case, this one film having such an effect on me, and me walking out and thinking, yeah, I genuinely, actually loved that film. There hasn't been many times I've walked out of the cinema this year and gone, I love that movie. But with this one, yeah, I genuinely think that it deserves that praise. And what I described it as when I first saw it was sort of a Grand Theft Auto vibe meets No Country for Old Men, in which it had the Western sort of vibe to it. But it also, by Grand Theft Auto, I don't mean it had big explosions. I mean, it has, its fair share of action. But I don't mean it's batshit crazy with action and sort of that stuff. But what I mean is the locations. I mean, there's a scene that takes place in the desert, like up some mountains with a sniper rifle, and it just reminded me of Grand Theft Auto 5 when you're sort of free roaming around. And you know, the heists that take place in this film are very Grand Theft Auto-ish in the fact that they're not sort of too highly planned out, but you can see the motivation behind what they're doing. And it's very hard to go into a movie with two main characters who are criminals and actually root for them to succeed and want them to sort of get out of their fine. And that's how I felt about the two main characters in this film. I really, really felt for them, and I felt like what they were doing, there was a reason for it. And I felt that if they didn't succeed, I would genuinely be upset at the fact that they didn't. I won't tell you whether they do or don't, but it's just the fact that I really, really felt like I connected with these characters, and that the movie sort of, it's set up and you're sort of thinking, well, is there a motivation for them robbing these banks? Yes, there is. And you really, the film actually like goes into it and it tells you like this is their motivation and this is why they're doing it, and you feel like, yeah, if I was in that situation, I would do that shitty thing too. So overall, I mean, Hell or High Water is a hell of a film. It's got brilliant acting. The pacing's absolutely brilliant. A lot of films I've complained about the pacing this year. No complaints for this one. I was never bored once watching this film. I was always captivated by what was going on. It actually, you know, I want to be a filmmaker, and this film is part of the reason why I want to be a filmmaker, because the shots are amazing and it sets up its scenes amazingly. Again, like just everyone shone in this movie. Shined. I don't know how you would say that. Everyone stood out in this movie. And with such a simple film, it's just so nice to really, really enjoy a film after some of the crap I've seen this year. I genuinely think this is probably going to be one of the best films of 2016. And I highly recommend it. I mean, I don't think it's going to be out for very long. It's had a limited release in the US. I don't know how long it'll be out in the UK. But I don't imagine it'll be out for too long, because it's one of those smaller films that people will tend to ignore, which I don't think is right. But if someone watches this review and is sort of, you know, tempted to see the film or like convinced to see the film, then I've done my job here, because Hell or High Water is a very, very good film, and I highly recommend it to anyone. If you're a fan of film, if you sort of, you've got like time to spare and you just want to see a film, this is the one you should see this week. This or Kubo, one of those two. But again, I'll talk about Kubo another time. But please, just don't ignore this film. Go and see it, because it is worthy of your time. So I highly recommend Hell or High Water. It's not too long either, so it never drags on. So yeah, I highly recommend Hell or High Water. Please go and see it, and let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next video.